Season 4. If the producers knew NYPD Blue would last for 12 seasons, the major death at the end of the previous year might have been reserved for later in the show's run. Season 4 sees the series inching closer towards a rigid formula, although a few standout episodes, usually the ones co-written by David Mills, successfully defy our expectations of what a Blue episode can be. The cast this year consists of Jimmy Smits as Bobby Simone. Smits played utility for a surprising amount of Season 3, and according to rumors at the time, he was anxious for more Simone-centric stories this year. Season 4 does turn out to have more of a Simone focus than the previous year, which was practically an extended Emmy reel for Dennis Franz, although it's hard to argue that we really learned that much more about his character in these episodes. In Season 4, Bobby Simone unsuccessfully proposes marriage to Diane Russell, inherits an apartment building from his deceased wife's aunt, and gets caught in between the NYPD and the FBI after reluctantly agreeing to an undercover assignment. Dennis Franz as Andy Sipowicz. Sipowicz's character arc this year involves him accepting that he actually has a family to live for now, which stands in contrast to Sipowicz's life as presented in earlier episodes. Sipowicz acknowledges that he is afraid to die, and over the course of the year continues to mourn the loss of his adult son. Just as Bobby Simone was dragged into Sipowicz's drama last year, this season sees Sipowicz acting as a frustrated supporting player during Simone's sketchy undercover assignment. James McDaniel as Arthur Fancy. As usual, Arthur Fancy has no great advancements in his personal life, but he does receive a surprising number of stories this year. This just might be the best Fancy season of the show's entire run. Fancy's foster son from the first season returns, now a teenage drug dealer, early in the season. Later on, Fancy deals with tension within his squad when Simone receives a promotion, but Sipowicz does not, struggles with his decision to penalize a uniformed cop he views as racist, and decides not to help his wife sell unnamed household products to his co-workers. They can't all be Emmy submissions. Nicholas Turturro as James Martinez. Martinez, shockingly, actually has decent material to play with this year. The early episodes of the season have Martinez running against veteran cop Vince Gatelli for the position of Union Delegate, although it's strictly referred to as Delegate, as if the audience will automatically infer what the characters are talking about, which isn't the greatest storyline, but it gives him something new to do. As the episodes progress, we see Martinez pursue the squad's new administrative assistant, and mercifully for all involved, he doesn't come across as a relentless creep this time. His subplot with Gina is actually one of the show's best romances. Sharon Lawrence as Sylvia Costas. This is the first season that had Sharon Lawrence pursuing other work, so she isn't around for much of the year. Lawrence went public with her complaints that her character rarely had anything to do anymore, and that the writers lost interest in her after Sylvia gave birth to little Theo. Sylvia usually appears this year at the closing of episodes, hinting that she wants to leave her job to spend time with the baby. Gordon Clapp as Greg Medevoy. Medevoy opens the season innocuously enough, challenging Sipowicz to a weight loss competition. It's a little silly, but it does help to ground the show in reality, and, to be frank, the producers had to eventually acknowledge that many of the male leads were gaining a noticeable amount of weight. The weight loss competition, sadly, leads to something that isn't innocuous at all, however. This is the year Medevoy befriends a lesbian couple and agrees to father their child. And every ounce of cheap humor you might expect to find in the situation is painfully squeezed out over the course of several months. It's not quite as bad as the "what the blank was that" Martinez-Lesniak romance of the previous year, but it's close. Kim Delaney as Diane Russell. We learn more about Diane's past this season, as David Milch draws upon some horrifying aspects of his own family and assigns them to the character. Kim Delaney effectively becomes the third lead of the show this year, even though her credit in the opening wouldn't lead you to believe it. Delaney's performance can be a bit controversial amongst fans, with some arguing she's just too dramatic. and while some of this material is extremely awkward, like her speech about wanting to show off her figure during high school football games, she usually does a credible job with the material. The revelation about her past, we learn why her father had a special bond with her, and it's disgusting, becomes an essential part of her character in a surprisingly positive way, but the method the writers use to get there is dicey. See the entry on Jimmy Leary below.